Okay guys, today it's Melanesian countries. First of all, in addition to the countries of Melanesia, there's also parts of larger nation entities that are categorically part of Melanesia. This is Melanesia basically, but that'll take too long, so we're just gonna cover the countries. Backstory. Who are the Melanesians? They're basically a distinct islander ethno-linguistic people group from Oceania. They're actually cousins of the Australian Aborigines. They share similar features like having darker complexion skin and coiled textured hair. And fun fact, Melanesians are the only people outside of those that have roots from Europe and parts of Asia that are able to naturally grow blonde hair due to the TYRP1 gene. At some point, all of them fell under some kind of colonial rule, whether it was European or Japanese. And even though there are over 1,000 native languages spoken in this area, they usually intercommunicate with their own countries and even the other countries with pidgin languages, and sometimes they're even intelligible with each other. Now let's highlight each country, shall we? Papua New Guinea, the largest and most populous one. It's actually the most linguistically diverse place on Earth with over 840 languages. If you include the entire Papua Island, then it's over 1,100. This is the one you've probably seen on like National Geographic with all the colorful face painting and headgear and the traditional dances. And it's crazy because almost every single one of the linguistic groups has their own customs and rituals. Side note, Papua New Guinea also has the autonomous Bougainville Island, which is on the path of seeking its own independence right now. They're in the negotiation phase. We'll see what happens in the next few years. Solomon Islands, they have about 900 islands, but most people live on the 6 big main ones. It's one of the only few places in the world where you can see an incredibly rare natural phenomenon, an underwater erupting volcano. This one here is Kavachi. It is believed that they have the highest concentration of Melanesians with blonde hair and do not hunt sharks here. They consider them very sacred. Vanuatu, you can tell it's Vanuatu because the islands are kind of shaped like a V, more like a Y, but whatever, close enough. Vanuatu is one of the only few former French-British condominium countries, as in both the British and French kind of shared it at the same time. Pentecost Island is the only place in Melanesia that has its own native writing system that they use. You can even see it on signs sometimes. It is speculated that Vanuatuans invented bungee jumping, as evidenced by the Ngol tree vine bungee jumping ritual as a rite of passage. And Vanuatu is one of the most naturally catastrophic places to live. They have volcanoes, they have cyclones, they have mudslides. But the people are used to it and they adapt. And finally, Fiji. This is probably the most popular one. You've all heard of it. It's probably the most internationally connected Melanesian island. Fiji is like the gateway hub that connects the whole world, not only just to Melanesia, but to the whole Pacific. It's like many airlines stop by here for layovers. And because it's such an international nation, their own native Fijian people only make up about 60% of the population. About a third of the country is actually Indo-Fijian, as in Fijians of Indian from India descent brought in during British colonial times, making Fiji one of the highest percentage of Hindu countries outside of Asia. But aside from that, back to the actual Melanesian Fijians, they're actually a lot more Polynesian influence due to their close proximity and constant exposure to Polynesian culture. Like a lot of the things you see Polynesians doing, you'll see the Fijians doing. Like sometimes they do the tattoo thing, sometimes their dances look more Polynesian. They even have their own version of like, New Zealand's Haka dance. They have their own version of that called the Chibi. So there you go, Melanesia. Which one fascinates you the most?